Discovered. The incredible journey of an infertile bride who surprised everyone with a child. Emma stood frozen in front of her bathroom mirror, the stark white of the tiles blurring as her mind reeled. 3 weeks. Just 3 weeks until the wedding that had filled her with a sense of purpose. The news had hit her like a freight train infertile, a condition she never saw coming, tearing through her dreams of motherhood, leaving her feeling fractured and diminished. She thought of the beautiful nursery she had envisioned, of laughter echoing through a house filled with children. All of it gone in an instant. Her heart raced as she faced the reflection of a woman she barely recognized. Her smile faded into a mask of anguish. As a high school teacher, she had devoted herself to nurturing her students, a profession that filled her with joy and purpose. Yet now, with her own future dimmed, she found herself questioning her worth. Was she still a full woman? Could she truly be a partner to Jake without a child? Anxiety crept in like a shadow, whispering that she was insufficient, a woman defined by what she could not do. Every conversation with Jake felt like navigating a minefield. His support was unwavering, but between them hung unspoken doubts. Society's expectations burrowed into her mind, suggesting if she couldn't bear children, was she really a woman? She gulped at the weight of judgment, the ballooning pressure suffocating her hopes. Should she even go through with the wedding, knowing that her ideals of family were now spinning out of reach? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The days ticked by, filled with preparations, yet every invitation felt like a reminder of her broken dreams. The bridal dress, once a symbol of joy, now pressed heavily against her heart. The anticipation of sharing vows was overshadowed by the gnawing fear that people would only see her inability to conceive. Jake's eyes sparkled with love, but she feared he too would sense the dissonance. She felt like an imposter, stepping into a future she didn't know if she deserved. Taking a step forward felt like taking 3 back, spiraling into self-doubt. One gloomy afternoon, while volunteering at a community center for prospective adoptive parents, Emma unexpectedly came face to face with her estranged Aunt Linda. Linda's eyes softened as they exchanged glances. The warmth of family history echoed in her words, each story a thread binding Emma to resilience. "You carry more strength than you know," Linda said, igniting a flicker of hope amidst the tempest of her despair. Yet, as memories unfolded, so did the conflicting emotions. Could she redefine what motherhood meant? Would it ever be enough? Time hastened, her wedding day looming with an overwhelming sense of dread and ambiguity. Just when it seemed the world held its breath, an unexpected revelation crashed through her chaos. She was pregnant. Waves of disbelief washed over her. Confusion washed through her veins. The world was about to shift, and she stood at a precipice. Would she accept this twist of fate? As judgmental whispers laced through her community, a single question clawed at her mind. Could she embrace this miracle amidst the expectations that threatened to drown her? Each heartbeat echoed with uncertainty, and the crossroads stood ahead. She was at a threshold that could redefine everything. Emma's hand trembled as she pressed it against her abdomen, the gentle rise and fall of her breath a reminder of the life blossoming within her. The news had shattered her reality, yet within the shards lay the pieces of a new identity. As she tried to visualize her future as a mother, layers of fear enveloped her like a cocoon. Could she really do this? Her mind raced through a barrage of worries about the pregnancy, about how she could provide a safe, nurturing environment for a child while still carrying the weight of societal judgment. Evening shadows stretched across the room, the golden light dimming with the setting sun, mirroring her unraveling thoughts. Each time she caught a glimpse of her reflection, It felt as if she stared into a foggy window, familiar yet distorted. The woman staring back seemed unsure, caught between past aspirations and newfound hopes. She thought about Jake and the way he had always stood by her, elevating her when she felt low. But now, she feared that he would be met with disappointment again. Would he still see the same woman he fell in love with? Or would he only see the heartache their journey had unknowingly thrust upon them? It gnawed at her, this uncertainty. Anticipation twisted with fear seeped into her veins. Amidst this turmoil, Emma's resolve began to crystallize. She had never backed down from a challenge in her life, whether in the classroom or on the soccer field. Perhaps she could approach this new chapter in the same way. The image of blooming flowers in spring entered her mind, representing strength and resilience amidst adversity. Could she nurture and foster not just a life within her, but also against the tides of self-doubt? As she took a deep breath, a realization washed over her. She had been defining herself by what she lacked rather than embracing the abundant love and dedication she brought to the table as a teacher and a partner. Her heart ached with the knowledge that while motherhood might look different than she had originally envisioned, it still held the potential to be fruitful in ways she hadn't imagined. Determined, Emma grabbed a notebook from her bedside table and scribbled down her thoughts, creating a vision for her future. In it, she wrote about the family she wanted to create, not based on conventional norms, but on the richness of love they would share. The vision grew bolder. She could celebrate each milestone, embrace the fundamental lessons about joy, resilience, and unconditional love. As the words flowed, she felt a sense of empowerment beginning to swell within her. She dared to contemplate a world where her life wasn't a series of what-ifs, but rather a journey of becoming. Perhaps it was time to tell Jake, time to break the silence looming between them, laying her fears and newfound hope on the table and inviting him to join her on this unexpected path. With her heart racing, she picked up her phone and texted Jake, inviting him to their favorite cafe for an honest conversation. She could feel the weight lifting slightly. This act of opening up was a step toward acceptance of herself, her circumstances, and her future. Yet, as she stared at the phone, ready to send, doubt flickered. A voice, insidious and familiar, whispered that maybe she'd be met with confusion or even rejection. But another, stronger voice insisted. This was her truth to share. Just as she pressed send, her heart raced with anticipation and anxiety. Stepping onto this new road, Emma knew challenges lay ahead. But the shift in perspective had begun. With her heart full of conflicting emotions, she realized she stood not just at a crossroads, but the gateway to a whole new way of understanding herself. As the cafe's door swung open, revealing Jake, Emma took a deep breath, preparing to unveil her truths. Would he embrace this new reality, or would their love falter under the weight of expectations? The moment of vulnerability loomed, and she felt the pulse of a decision shaping the very essence of what lay ahead. Emma's heart raced as she locked eyes with Jake. He stepped closer, a warm smile illuminating his face, but she felt a knot tightening in her stomach. How could she blend the joy of their reunion with the weight of her secret? With the cafe bustling around them, the chatter of patrons felt like an overwhelming backdrop to her isolated fear. "Hey, Emma." Jake's voice was genuine, but she heard the undercurrent of anticipation, a silent question he wasn't voicing yet. She had prepared herself with words, but now all she could muster was a nod. "You look different," he noted, searching her face for answers. The casual remark felt like a spotlight, illuminating her vulnerabilities rather than her strength. "I guess I'm just figuring some things out," she managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. He looked at her curiously, eyes flickering between concern and eagerness. "Is everything okay?" "Not quite, but it's complicated," she replied, a crack in her confident facade revealing her uncertainty. Emma felt the weight of unshared experiences pressing against her chest. She wanted to articulate her feelings, but found herself grappling with the enormity of the moment. Let us sit. She gestured toward the quiet corner, needing to break free of the attention. As they settled, Emma's focus sharpened on the delicate edges of the cafe table, her mind racing back to the vision she had created earlier. She expected to feel a rush of empowerment, but hot fear bubbled instead. Emma? Jake's voice broke through her turmoil. Please talk to me. What is it? His gaze was unwavering, filled with genuine concern. The moment hung heavy, like a poised pendulum swinging between hope and dread. It was now or never. Emma took a deep breath and began. I have some news. It's huge, and I'm still trying to understand it myself. Jake leaned closer, mirroring her tension. Just tell me. I'm here. Emma's mind faltered, tripping over the words she had rehearsed. Should she emphasize excitement or fear? Instead, she chose to be honest. I am pregnant, Jake. The confession hung in the air between them, a fragile promise of a future wrapped in uncertainty. The silence stretched, an eternity encapsulated in mere moments. She studied Jake's expression, waiting for the fallout. Would he recoil or embrace her? The shadows of expectation loomed, wrapping around her resolve. I know this isn't what we planned, she added, rushing the words out. I'm scared, and I don't want you to feel trapped or disappointed. Jake's eyes widened, but held a light of realization. Perhaps they shared the same fears. Wow, Emma, this is a lot, he murmured, concern etched on his face. Though she yearned for clarity, it was evident Jake was processing his emotions, a swirl of disbelief and curiosity. I know it's unexpected, Emma admitted, her voice growing steadier. But I refuse to let fear define me. I want to embrace this journey and need you to be a part of it, if you want that too. The tension between them palpable. She could almost sense the gears turning in his mind. He opened his mouth, ready to speak, but then hesitated. Emma could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on them, like the thick humidity before a storm. Emma, Jake started, but the words hung between them, unspoken, a question or a challenge she couldn't decipher. His mind struggled to echo hers. They were at another crossroads, their relationship poised on the brink of transformation. Would he accept this unexpected reality, or would he decide to step back? As Emma's heart pounded with anticipation, a thought struck her, the knowledge that this moment, just moments before, had felt so clear and now stood shrouded in confusion. The journey ahead looked daunting, yet she could not ignore the flicker of exhilaration that pulsed through her veins. Beneath it all, there was hope. Hope for understanding, hope for a future together, and ultimately, hope for a family. Would Jake rise to this moment of truth, or would fear fracture their bond? The cafe buzzed around them, but within, their world narrowed to this pivotal conversation. And as she awaited his response, the stakes felt higher than ever. This was the moment that would define their path forward, one that could alter the very fabric of her existence. Emma could hear the chatter around her fading into a dull hum. The buzzing energy of the cafe felt worlds away from the intense silence enveloping her and Jake. She held her breath, heart thrumming wildly as she searched his expression for clues, a way to discern his thoughts. His absence of words was deafening, an unsettling void that filled the air. Finally, Jake exhaled, and the exhale felt like an escape route from the tension. I didn't expect this, Emma. I don't know what to say. His voice carried a tremor that made her heart sink. Was he backing away from her? I know, Emma replied, determination surging through her. But I really am trying to figure this out. I need to understand where we stand. She hoped a flicker of urgency in her tone would provoke his clarity. She noticed he was weighing his options, his brow furrowed, eyes darting as if seeking a way forward through a dense fog. What do you want? He whispered, almost as if afraid the question would unearth something too deep to confront. A part of her wanted to thread through this minefield together, but another part grappled with a bastion of fear rising within her. Jeremy, her boss, who had always taken pride in her dedication to her career, had warned her of the challenges of personal upheaval. She had spent years building her identity around ambition and success. Could she really shift her priorities now? I want to embrace this, Jake. I want to embrace everything. She emphasized, her voice stronger. I want to be a mother, and I want you to be part of this. I don't want to go through it alone. His eyes softened, and for the first time, she glimpsed vulnerability beneath his uncertainty. Yet his silence still clouded the moment, wrapping itself around them like a thick fog. Emma recognized there was no turning back for her, not now. She had faced many hurdles in her professional life, and this moment felt like another step, perhaps the biggest one, towards her own evolution. Look, I know this is sudden, she continued, feeling the ground shift beneath her feet, but I need to figure out how to navigate this new reality, not just for me, but for us. With these words, Emma began to map out her feelings. The internal dialogue thrummed within her. What she thought was a revelation had transformed into a moment of self-discovery. She realized her journey into motherhood wasn't just a personal decision. It was a test of who she could become amidst uncertainty. Jake shifted in his seat, his expression going from uncertainty to contemplation. But what if I'm not ready for this? He asked, his tone layered with dread. The question sliced through her heart, yet she felt a bittersweet empowerment course through her veins. This was a moment of truth, not just for them, but for her to define her own limits, even if it meant accepting the unthinkable. I can't tell you how to feel, she admitted, but I can't let this fear smother me. I refuse to let it define my future. Well, I want us to step into this, to forge this new path, whatever that may look like. Her words hung in the air, an ultimatum cloaked in flexibility. Would he step forward with her, or let fear tether him back? The table felt like a chasm between their destinies, and as each second ticked by, the stakes mounted. Give me some time, Emma, he finally replied, his voice steadier albeit tinged with uncertainty. I need to think about this. Emma swallowed hard. I understand. The honesty was a double-edged sword. As grateful as she was that he hadn't walked away, the notion of time slinked into her mind like a thief. Every moment spent waiting gnawed at her. The conversation had revealed more than she anticipated. The distance between their perceptions of this shared path was greater than she had imagined. She rose from the table, feeling lighter but uncertain, and watched Jake's face reflect his own internal struggle. As she stepped away, leaving him surrounded by uncertainty, the path before her shimmered faintly, tinged with hope and trepidation. This was her moment. Either she would forge ahead or hold back in her. Personal growth. And a question loomed. How would Emma navigate these uncharted waters of vulnerability and resolve? With Jake's silence echoing in her mind, she knew the next chapter of her journey had only just begun. Emma walked away from the cafe, each step a mix of uncertainty and resolve. The cool air outside felt liberating, yet her heart still thudded with the weight of vulnerability. The conversation with Jake had ignited something deep within her. It was more than just a discussion about motherhood. It was a confrontation of her own identity, woven with fears and aspirations that she had yet to fully untangle. As she leaned against a lamppost, she began to breathe more deeply. The reality she faced was not just Jake's indecisiveness, but her own apprehensions about how to balance a life of demanding ambitions alongside the unforeseen prospect of motherhood. The hours at the office, the meticulous planning, and the celebrated milestones all seemed to waver in the face of this unforeseen challenge. What did it mean to truly embrace motherhood without sacrificing her professional identity? Emma envisioned her career a realm she thrived in, a cornerstone of her identity. Jeremy, her boss, would likely have his misgivings if he knew how close she was to a life-altering shift. Thoughts of their last conversation trickled back, his warning echoing in her mind about how personal matters could cloud professional judgment. What would she tell him, explaining her absence? That she needed to navigate a newfound territory that blurred the lines between her roles? Determined, Emma pulled herself upright. She decided then that Molly, her colleague who always radiated positivity, could be her sounding board. Molly had navigated a similar transition just a year ago when she had her first child while climbing the corporate ladder. This instant connection sparked a flicker of hope. Perhaps she wasn't alone in her struggle. Leaving the cafe behind felt like shedding old skin, morphing into someone ready to tackle whatever lay ahead. At the office later that evening, she sought out Molly amidst the hum of activity, her heart racing with anticipation. "Can we talk for a second?" Emma asked, her voice steady but laced with urgency. Molly paused, concern etched across her face. "Of course. Is everything okay?" Emma led Molly to a quieter corner, where the faint sounds of typing faded into the background. "I need to figure some things out," she started, surprised at the quickness of her own honesty. "I think I might be pregnant." Molly's eyes widened slightly, and she took a breath, putting her hands on her hips. "Wow, Emma, that's huge. How do you feel about it?" Emma felt the impending weight of her decision settle on her shoulders. "I'm scared. I worked so hard to build my career, but I'm also excited," she confessed. "I feel torn in two directions. I don't want to lose everything I've built, but I also don't want to miss out on something incredible." Molly nodded, empathy flowing through her. "It's completely understandable. But there's no script for this. When I first found out I was pregnant, I thought it would be the end of my career. Instead, it reshaped my perspective. It made me more focused." Emma leaned forward, curiosity piqued. "Really? How did you manage it?" "You have to redefine what success means to you. It's possible to thrive in both realms, but you have to be open to a new narrative. You're allowed to be afraid while also being ambitious." With each word, Molly painted a landscape of resilience that Emma yearned to traverse. As they traded insights, Emma felt a new sense of determination swell. She found herself mapping out potential ways to adapt her professional life around impending motherhood. Instead of viewing it as a burden, perhaps it could fuse seamlessly with her aspirations. But amid this surge of motivation, a nagging doubt crept in. Was she truly ready to transform her life so fundamentally? Suddenly, her phone buzzed a text from Jake checking in, an olive branch cloaked in hesitation. The flicker of hope that had surged within her began to dissipate, replaced by the darker cloud of uncertainty. Would her resolve withstand the doubts that brewed in Jake's absence? Emma's fingers hovered over the screen, poised to reply. As she deliberated her next move, the stakes escalated. You had to wonder if she had the strength to face the truth about herself and navigate this journey on her own terms. What decisions would she make next? And would those choices bring her closer to someone she could become, or further away from who she had always been? The next morning, Emma woke with a resolve burning clearer than the sun pouring through her apartment window. Shadows of doubt bothered her less than before. The conversation with Molly had reshaped her understanding of what lay ahead. Today, she would confront Jeremy. She needed to be transparent about her life, however painful that might be. As she showered, steam enveloped her, creating a small sanctuary where her thoughts could flow unchecked. A wave of determination washed over her. She was not just a potential mother. She was a capable professional, ready to redefine her path. Emma arrived at the office, mentally rehearsing what she would say to Jeremy. She passed through the bustling corridors, exchanging pleasantries with colleagues, each smile an affirmation that she was more than her uncertainties. Finally, she approached Jeremy's office, heart racing yet steady. He looked up from his screen, a curious expression painting his face as she knocked and entered. "Emma, is everything all right?" he asked. Taking a deep breath, she began, "I need to talk to you about something important." There was no turning back now. "I think I might be pregnant." His brows furrowed. "That's significant." "Congratulations," but his voice trailed off, the tension in the air tightening. "Yes, it is," she replied, her voice firm. "But it raises a lot of questions about my role here and what my future looks like. I want to be transparent about my situation and discuss how I can manage my responsibilities without compromising my work." Jeremy leaned back, assessing her with careful eyes. "Emma, this is a lot to take in. It often changes priorities. You may need to take time off." "I understand that possibility," she countered, discovering a newfound boldness. but I've worked hard to get where I am. I refuse to let fear dictate my choices. I'm exploring ways to balance both motherhood and my career. His face softened slightly. It's a difficult balance. I won't lie to you. It will take adaptation. Were you proposing? Emma replied with clarity. I envision taking a flexible role even before the child arrives. Maybe I could transition to working from home a few days a week. I would like to establish a plan that ensures both continuity in my work and the attention needed at home. Jeremy nodded, appearing contemplative. We can strategize to make this work. I appreciate your initiative and will support you the best we can. As Emma left his office, a sense of victory surged through her veins. It was the first stand she had taken for herself, an assertion that motherhood wouldn't strip away her professional identity, but instead would challenge her to grow in new ways. But as she reacquainted herself with the frenetic energy of the office, another pang of doubt surfaced. Molly's voice echoed in her head. Redefine success. Emma wondered if her proposed balance was merely a guise for running away from the full reality of what was to come. Later, debriefing with Molly, she expressed her worries. What if I can't juggle it all? What if my career suffers because motherhood changes me in ways I can't anticipate? Molly placed a hand on her shoulder, looking directly into Emma's eyes. You will adapt. The moment you think you can't manage, that's when you'll surprise yourself. Embrace every part of you, including those uncertainties. Emma thought over Molly's words, determination mixing with lingering apprehension as she headed toward her desk. Her hand rested over her phone again, contemplating Jake's earlier message. Should she reach out? But hesitation loomed. What if he hadn't yet sorted through his feelings? Would he be a supportive partner or an anchor tethering her to self-doubt? As questions battled in her mind, Emma's phone buzzed another text from Jake, this time containing an image. It was a picture of a small onesie emblazoned with the phrase future MVP. The implications of this gesture struck her like a bolt of lightning, igniting a surge of hope, but also throwing her fears back into the forefront. Could this be the sign she needed a reminder that partnership could blossom ridiculously and beautifully in the chaos? Suddenly, the question shifted from her career to her personal life. Was she ready for the tumult of motherhood? Not alone, but with someone willing to embrace it by her side? In that moment, navigating the duality of ambition and impending motherhood became even more intricate, and Emma knew she was embarking on an unpredictable journey with her own future at stake. Would she dare to respond to Jake in a way that acknowledges their shared possibility? The morning after her conversation with Jeremy was etched in Emma's memory, a pivotal moment altering her trajectory. Yet as she rose to greet the sunlight spilling into her room, the sense of victory began to quiver under the weight of uncertainty. The image of the onesie lay heavy in her mind, a tangible reminder of the new life potentially growing inside her. And Jake's hopeful gesture only compounded the dilemma swirling within her. She brewed her coffee, staring out the kitchen window as steam curled upward from the cup. Today, she resolved to reach out. But to what end? She still grappled with her emotional investment in Jake. Would he truly be the supportive partner she needed, or was he merely a fragile tether to a future she was still struggling to chart? As the caffeine coursed through her, invigorating her senses, Emma grabbed her phone, hesitated, then set it down. It was maddening. Each time she thought of him, she envisioned late-night conversations, heartfelt confessions, and laughter that echoed through the halls of their shared moments. But those thoughts were intertwined with the gnawing fear of sharing her vulnerabilities, of stripping away the layers she had meticulously built. A sudden ping cut through her thoughts, an email from a client that needed immediate attention. Emma's professional instincts kicked in. Work had always provided a refuge, a grounding force against the backdrop of her tumultuous personal life. Hours slipped by as she buried herself in projects, drafting proposals and coordinating meetings. The office buzzed with energy, a stark contrast to her internal turmoil. She excelled in this realm, a sphere where each achievement rendered her capabilities undeniable. Yet every success felt distant now, overshadowed by the looming question of her personal life. Lunchtime arrived. Standing in the break room, she couldn't help but overhear colleagues discussing weekend plans, family gatherings, and milestones. Their chatter pierced through her focus, reminding her that her choices were shifting and she stood at a unique crossroads. Molly's voice echoed in her mind, redefine success. But how could she embrace this new version of success if she feared inadequacy? The thought gnawed at her as she opened her lunch and contemplated her surroundings. Instead of the cozy family scenes her co-workers described, she envisioned quiet nights alone, filled with resolve and introspection. Yet her potential motherhood hung over her, a pairing of hope and dread tugging at her heartstrings. With a determined gesture, she picked up her phone, unraveling the knots of doubt. Perhaps she could test the waters. Asking Jake for coffee wouldn't commit her to anything beyond curiosity. Before she could backtrack, she typed a message and pressed send. The day wore on, each ticking minute weighing heavier. When her phone buzzed, it startled her. Jake's response was almost immediate, a single word that ignited both dread and anticipation. Sure. That brief exchange set her heart racing. Coffee turned into more than a casual meeting. It turned into a conversation drenched in possibility. What if he did want to step up? What if they could carve out a life together that respected both her ambitions and his? Uncertainty still loomed over her questions about timing, upbringing, and their diverging paths, but today had already been a revelation. She was learning to choose herself first, to recognize the gravity of motherhood and career, and to confront her fears head-on. As she finished her lunch, Emma made a conscious decision to embrace the chaos, ready to engage with the manifold aspects of her life. Clarity surged through her. Navigating this duality wouldn't be a solitary journey. Her mind raced at the possibilities. A heart-to-heart with Jake could be the catalyst she needed to embrace motherhood, not just as a daunting prospect, but as an enriching chapter she could share. Still, shadows lurked within her thoughts. What if this bold move exposed her vulnerabilities in ways that left her raw? That tension swirled around her as she revisited her desk, her resolve heightened yet shaky. Facing Jake could very well alter the landscape of her entire life. Tomorrow would be a defining moment in which she would explore not just partnership, but the intricacies of reshaping what it meant to be Emma, a mother, a professional, and a woman ready to embrace the unknown. Little did she know that the true confrontation awaited her yet, one that would truly test her resolve and commitment to this unfolding journey. Would the answer she sought lead her to embrace this new reality, or create fissures she couldn't mend? Emma's heart raced as she entered the coffee shop, a swirl of anticipation laced with self-doubt enveloping her. The cozy aromas of roasted beans and fresh pastries momentarily grounded her, but the weight of her decision lingered. She spotted Jake at a table in the corner, his familiar features softened by a hint of concern. Time slowed as she crossed the room, each step a mix of excitement and trepidation. "Hey," she greeted, sliding into the seat opposite him. The casual nature of the cafe felt incongruent with the gravity of their impending conversation. The small talk about work and the weather fell flat, an opening act before the main event. "Thanks for inviting me," Jake said, his expression earnest. "I wasn't sure if you meant it seriously." Emma felt the urge to deflect, to keep the conversation light as she swirled her coffee. "Well, this is serious business coffee and all." But laughter died on her lips as the reality of their situation loomed large. Did she really want to engage in this conversation? As silence unfurled like a thick fog, she leaned in, assembling the courage simmering beneath her uncertainty. "I've been thinking a lot about us, about what we want." The statement felt like stepping onto a tightrope, the other end disappearing into vast unknowns. He raised an eyebrow, an invitation to continue. "What do you mean?" Emma swallowed hard. "About the child. The onesie, the implications, everything." Each word worked its way through the barriers she'd built around her vulnerabilities. This was more than just a discussion. It was about reshaping her vision of the future. "I know it's a lot," Jake replied, his gaze steady. "But I care about you, and I want to be there if this is what you want." His response vibrated within her, potential mixed with the fear of dismantling her carefully constructed walls. Could he really handle the weight of what they were discussing, or would he turn out to be just another disappointment? "What if I said I want it?" Emma's voice trembled. "What if I told you I'm scared about how to be a mother, how to manage everything?" His expression softened, and for a moment, she glimpsed the strength and determination she so desperately needed. We all have fears, but being a parent doesn't require perfection. It requires resilience, love, and support. She froze at his words, struck by their simplicity, yet overwhelmed by their implications. Resilience? Could she truly find that beneath her fears? As she drew in a breath, the realizations began cascading fast and furious. Taking this leap could redefine not only motherhood, but also her career aspirations. What if they became partners, truly navigating their lives together? Yet the fear of inadequacy resurfaced, gnawing at her resolve. Can I be both? Can I manage both? Anxiety woven deep into her core threatened to derail any newfound clarity. A brief silence settled, yet the pervasive tension crackled between them. It became increasingly clear she could choose to be fearful, or she could step forward, even if it meant confronting her deepest insecurities. Can we really do this? Together? Emma's voice was barely above a whisper. Jake's gaze was unwavering, an anchor amidst rising tides of uncertainty. "We'll figure out together, Emma. I promise." Hope mingled with apprehension, a tightrope walk balancing expansive dreams with harsh realities. In that moment, she realized if she stepped fully into this relationship, she would not only embrace motherhood, but reshape her professional identity along the way. Yet lurking beneath her fragile optimism was the nagging reminder of her contradictions. How would she integrate this partnership into her professional persona? As he reached across the table, their hands meeting, the touch ignited a whirlwind of possibilities, but also underscored her doubts. "What is next for us?" she asked, a mix of excitement and dread twisting in her stomach. The atmosphere shifted, every moment stretching before them like a canvas awaiting the brushstrokes of their future. But as they lingered in that shared space, Emma felt a fresh pulse of determination. Perhaps facing her emerging identity could yield something beautiful if she let vulnerability guide her. The echoes of uncertainty remained, each tick of the clock reminding her of the work yet to be done. Little did she know that her next steps would reveal layers of her own strengths intertwined with Jake's support. Just as she found clarity, a new challenge loomed on the horizon, one that would demand every ounce of her commitment and strength. As they held hands, Emma's heart beat steadily with the realization that choice lay before her, fertile ground for both their dreams. But the more pressing question loomed in her mind. When their realities collided, would she thrive or crumble under the weight of her own desires? Emma felt the warmth of Jake's hand enveloping hers, yet a chill ran down her spine. The enormity of their conversation began to crystallize before her, stark and undeniable. Fear began to bubble again, mingling with resolve, as she sought to envision how their relationship and the reality of motherhood could intertwine with her career ambitions. The stakes were high. Could she balance her workplace commitments and the demands of parenthood? Just a few weeks ago, she had been climbing the ladder at her marketing job, focused on building her brand and securing a promotion. How would those ambitions fit within her new role as a prospective mother? What would it mean for her professional aspirations if she decided to prioritize family? A sudden thought shook her. Was it selfish to desire both? "I don't want to feel like I'm falling short," she admitted slowly, her voice barely above a whisper. "I care about my career. What if I can't be good at both?" Jake leaned back, processing her words with genuine concern, his fingers still intertwined with hers. "It's okay to feel that way. You're not alone. Many people struggle to juggle their roles. But I believe in your ability to succeed in both." His faith in her, while comforting, also served as a mirror reflecting her own fears and inadequacies. Could she really do this? Each word felt like a delicate step along a precipice. The cafe buzzed with life around them, oblivious to the internal storm brewing in her mind. She envisioned the vibrant life she had built. The coffee-fueled mornings, the late nights spent perfecting presentations, the satisfaction of meeting deadlines. Yet here she was, entertaining a future that might demand a complete redirection of her focus. Why do we feel pressured to have all the answers? She mused out loud, sliding into contemplation about the societal expectations tethering her thoughts. Everyone seems to have it figured out, and here I am, questioning everything. Because we have high standards for ourselves, Jake countered. But challenges don't define our worth. They show us our capacity to grow. He paused, the weight of his own experiences etched in his expression. If you're not willing to explore the unknown at some level, you'll be boxed in by your fears. His words resonated like a bell tolling in the silence between them, calling her to rise above her self-imposed limitations. Could she really follow this path? Could motherhood nurture her professional identity instead of diminishing it? As the conversation continued, Emma found herself unraveling the complexities of her own beliefs. She envisioned the possibility of collaboration. Would that not be the essence of partnership? He could be her ally in balancing the dual weight of parenting and career, and she could become stronger and more versatile in the process. With a newfound clarity drawing forth determination, Emma decided she would lean into the uncertainty instead of retreating back into her fears. It was time to embrace her evolving identity. Suddenly, her phone buzzed on the table, snapping her out of the reverie. A notification from work flashed across the screen. A new opportunity had opened, one she had long aspired to. It taunted her with timeliness, urgently demanding a decision. "I need to respond to this," she said, feeling the pull of her professional ambition tugging at the frayed edges of her thoughts. Jake raised an eyebrow, his interest piqued. "What is that?" "It's a promotion application." Her heartbeat quickened as she considered her choice. Would this be her moment to step boldly into both roles? "Go for it," Jake smiled. "Just remember, it doesn't have to be either/or. You can choose to pursue both and grow from their intersection." Emma took a deep breath, the decision hanging palpably in the air, ready to be made. The crossroads before her teased with uncertainty while whispering promises of growth. Could she mold her future from this exact moment of choice? As she composed her response and hit send, a new fire ignited within her. She resolved to forge a path that embraced all her desires. But even as she began envisioning her next steps, a whisper of doubt lingered in the recesses of her mind. The sentiment gnawed at her. Could she truly rise from this convergence of love and ambition, or would the expectations of her evolving identity trip her again? Emma raised her gaze to meet Jake's steady eyes, feeling a fresh spark of courage intertwined with threads of lingering fear. The journey ahead felt uncertain, unfamiliar territory scattered with possibilities. And yet, something deeper stirred within her. What if this path culminated in a confrontation with the possibilities she had once overlooked? What joys and surprises awaited her if she ventured boldly? As they locked eyes, Emma felt an inescapable truth emerging from their shared moment that left her anxious all at once, invigorated and afraid of the unknown, ready to step into the tangled web of her future. Emma stood at the threshold of her new life, the air thick with promise and uncertainty. After months of internal struggle, she had finally dared to embrace the duality of her identity as both a capable professional and a nurturing mother-to-be. Today marked not just an external transformation, but an internal metamorphosis where anxiety had yielded to resolute determination. Months of introspection had led her here. She reflected on the wisdom shared by Molly during their last conversation that redefining success meant allowing herself to be multifaceted. She had leaned into her ambitions not as opposing forces, but as complementary elements of her existence. After her candid conversation with Jake, she felt a newfound strength, bolstered by his unwavering support. Together, they had begun to sketch a roadmap interweaving their dreams, reshaping their narrative into something that honored both their aspirations. Emma had submitted her application for the promotion, an act that had become a testimony to her growth. The simple action of pressing send had been liberating, a declaration that she would neither be confined nor defined solely by expectations of motherhood. Her professional achievements and her maternal instincts could coexist, nurturing each other instead of clashing. The days that followed unfolded as a testament to her resolve. Balancing her responsibilities was not without moments of difficulty, but Emma found that her adaptability grew alongside her pregnancy. Reflecting on her moments in class, she began to weave her personal experiences into her teaching. She shared her journey with her students, encouraging them to embrace their own complexities, shifting from a place of self-doubt to more profound self-acceptance. Her students responded with a newfound appreciation for vulnerability, sparking discussions that illuminated the importance of resilience in the face of adversity. However, the real turning point arrived when she received a call from Jeremy informing her that she was awarded the promotion. Overwhelmed by emotion, she realized this achievement wasn't just a victory in her professional journey, but a significant affirmation of her evolving identity. She held her breath, recognizing how much this moment reflected her growth, not just as an employee, but as a woman redefining what could be possible. And as she stood before the mirror that evening, the reflection was confident, radiant. Gone was the uncertainty that had clouded her vision. Instead, she saw a woman excited about the future, a mother who would provide endless love and guidance to her child while upholding her ambitions. She envisioned a classroom filled with joy instead of just personal expectations, encouraging future generations to forge their paths freely. In the following weeks, the relationship with Jake deepened. As they navigated the uncharted waters of impending parenthood, their discussions became richer and more meaningful. They attended prenatal classes together, sharing laughs while learning about the adventures that lay ahead. Jake's gentle encouragement had become a lifeline, reminding her of the shared experience. They were embarking on a journey united by love and understanding. Yet, amidst all this, a wave of introspection washed over Emma. It dawned upon her that motherhood, like any other role, would involve adapting and growing alongside her child, just as she had with her career. She didn't have to have all the answers. The experience would refine her abilities to embrace motherhood and work harmoniously. Existential fears transformed into opportunities to mold a family dynamic that resembled both nurture and ambition. One afternoon, with the sun streaming through her living room window, she made a heartwarming revelation. She could lead by example for her child, demonstrating that achieving one's dreams was not solely about professional titles, but about embracing life as complexities in total. Sharing this insight with Jake resonated between them, solidifying both their connection and their resolve to build a family, filled with love, courage, and adventure. The final chapter of this phase unfurled beautifully. Emma hosted a small gathering with close friends to celebrate her promotion and impending motherhood. Surrounded by laughter and encouragement, she shared her journey, reveling in the support that enveloped her like a warm embrace. The applause, heartfelt and genuine, echoed her newfound clarity. She was not defined by one aspect of her life, but enriched by every choice she had made along the way. As the night wound down and she found a moment to breathe, Emma stepped outside for fresh air, her heart swelling with gratitude. The journey ahead was unknown, but she embraced it fully, ready to cross the bridge into motherhood while asserting her place in her professional world. Emma's transformation was tangible. She stood stronger, ready to face this next phase with solid confidence and unwavering resolve. This was not just an ending. It was the beginning of a blossoming identity, one woven together with vibrant threads of motherhood and undisputed ambition. There has never been a better time to embrace your own journey. Don't wait even one more second to support this channel. You need to subscribe now, so you won't miss the next exclusive emotional stories where personal journeys unfold in ways you never expected. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep these transformative narratives alive. You never know who might be inspired by your reaction. Comment below, sharing your thoughts and theories about how Emma's story resonated with you. And remember, this is your opportunity to impact others. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this incredible conclusion. Your support matters. Together, we can uplift others on their paths to personal overcoming stories.